and then dismembered their bodies and...
He watched Dexter, bro. I'm telling you. I watched it too. Nah, my man, what was it? The Bay Harbor Butcher, all right? Come on. The Meeting. All right, let's see what this is about. I'm doing good. How about you?
In the early 1990s, a woman in her early 20s named Krista Frater was working as a manager inside of a retail store called the Boston Store in Madison, Wisconsin. Not long after she was hired there, the Boston Store would hire another employee to work at their Madison location. His name was Bart Halderson, and like Krista, he was in his early 20s, although he was 3 years younger than Krista, and he was hired to be a clerk. Bart and Krista didn't know each other before working at the same location, but their shifts often overlapped, and so in time they got to know each other, and they found they had a lot in common. They both had grown up roughly outside of Madison, Wisconsin. They both had graduated from the same college, the University of Wisconsin-Madison.
Bro, these are like all the stories, though, like for real, that don't be like blowing up, bro.
And they both shared a love.
Shout out to Mr. Baldwin giving us the info, bro. Imagine like you go on your TV, it gotta be something crazy happen for like Madison, Wisconsin to get reported on, bro.
Of home design. Krista, who had majored in art history in college, was very passionate about interior home design. As for Bart, he was just one of those people who naturally could fix just about anything with his bare hands. And growing up, his favorite projects were anything to do with home repairs, whether it was something super simple or super complex.
Bro, I ain't gonna lie, bought my first power drill, boy. Listen, I'll put together anything now. I'm a professional. All right? I'm a professional.
He didn't care. He just found it incredible.
I will never twist my wrist again. Never. Okay? Come on. Hey.
It was satisfying to keep a home in immaculate condition. And so Bart and Krista bonded over their commonalities, and in time, their working friendship evolved into a full-fledged romance. And by 1994, they had left the Boston Store, they had gotten married, and they had moved in together to their own apartment in DeForest, Wisconsin, which is not far from Madison. 2 years after that, in 1996, Bart and Krista welcomed their first child into the world. It was a little boy who they named Mitchell.
You see how they found love, you know what I'm saying? You don't need no social media.
And as soon as Mitchell was born, Krista decided she wanted to stay home with the baby, and Bart was in full support, and so he went out and he got a great job as an accountant, which paid enough money to pay for the whole family. And 18 months after Mitchell was born, Bart and Krista welcomed their second and final child, another boy who they named Chandler. A few years after Chandler was born, Bart and Krista had saved up just enough money that they could finally afford to buy a house of their own. And the house they finally settled on was just this very modest, small, 2-story home.
Hey, that's a fire house to me, all right? Listen, modest. Hey, you're living.
In this very quiet little town in Wisconsin called Windsor. Windsor is not far from DeForest, where they had been renting an apartment. But this little house in Windsor was perfect for Bart, Krista, and their boys. Not only did it have enough space for the family, but because it was their own house, as soon as they moved in, Krista got to really lean in to her passion for interior design, and she got to design the entire layout of the house. And then she continued to take pride in keeping the house perfectly tidy and beautiful at all times. As for Bart, he immediately began doing home repair project after home.
You said that looked like a house I would live in? Facts, bro. I don't need no big old crib, bro. I ain't gonna lie. I do not need all that space, brother. You know what I'm saying? Give me a decent elbow room. We good, bro.
Repair project. This house became his trophy, and he wanted to make sure his trophy was polished at all times. And it was.
Oh, what you mean by that?
Became his trophy, and he wanted to make sure his trophy was polished at all times.
Yo. Hold on, I'm pretty sure we missed something right there. Okay.
As for Bart, he immediately began doing home repair project after home repair project. This house became his trophy, and he wanted to make sure his trophy was polished at all times.
Yo, that's a crazy. Way to say that, but look. I understand, bro, you buy a house, you want to keep it up, you know what I'm saying? Especially if you had one that was like, you know what I'm saying, you wish would have been better before. When you get one, you like, I'm about to make this I feel
and
him,
it wasn't
bro. I feel
just
him.
the physical
Hopefully he don't end up like the crazy one in this video though, because if he do, I don't feel him.
house
Okay?
that made this feel like their forever home. It was also their neighbors. As soon as they moved in,
Ooh, that's. I mean, it looks nice though.
Bart and Krista made friends with all of the people that lived on their street, and they were all so friendly and welcoming. And then before long, the Haldersons were deeply invested in community activities like the Boy Scouts and the Kiwanis Club, and they were donating their time and money to other charities. I mean, so quickly, the Halderson family just found where they belonged. And over the next 2+ decades, life for the Haldersons in this little home in Windsor remained perfect. Bart continued to move up the ladder at his accounting firm, and Krista continued to be a devoted mother and housekeeper. As for the kids, Mitchell and Chandler, they were given every opportunity their parents could possibly give them. And in that loving and supportive environment, they both thrived. By 2021, the older brother, Mitchell, who was 25 at the time, he had moved out and was living alone in an apartment, and he had graduated from college. He had landed an incredible IT job with a local, very
I guarantee you my man played League of Legends, all right? I see it in his eyes, okay?
successful company. He was engaged to be married, and he was about to buy his own house. As for the younger brother, Chandler, who was 23 at the time,
Man got an IT
he was
job?
still living at home with
Yes, sir.
Bart and Krista, but he was doing just as well as his older brother.
Oh, my man got a you. Yo, nah, that's crazy. For him to have a. Nah, this story's about to get nuts. This story's about to get nuts. I feel it. Because if we're telling a story about a YouTuber. Oh, man.
He was in his final year of college, but he had already accepted a full-time job with SpaceX that was set to start in Florida as soon as he graduated. And while he was in his final year of college, in between his studies, he worked part-time at a local insurance company to help pay rent to his parents, and he also volunteered the rest of his spare time with the Madison Police Department on their rescue scuba diving team. Chandler was also in a committed relationship with his girlfriend. But despite how well everything was going for Bart, for Krista, for Mitchell, for Chandler, their lives were about to take a serious turn for the worst. It all started in June of 2021. That month, Chandler, who was only weeks away from flying out to Titusville, Florida to start his job with SpaceX, fell down an entire flight of stairs, smashing his
Hold on.
Only weeks away from flying out to Titusville, Florida to start his job with SpaceX, fell down an entire flight of stairs, smashing his head in the process. Now, he immediately picked himself up and tried to tell himself that he was okay, but over the course of that day...
That's like 40+ feet, bro. I'm not moving, all right?
He started to feel woozy and disoriented, and his legs started to feel numb. And so in a panic, he rushed himself to the hospital. And unfortunately, when they scanned his brain and they checked him out, the doctors discovered he had a severe concussion from this fall, and he had a brain bleed that almost certainly would require surgery at some point down the road. Also, the numbness in his legs appeared to be the result of permanent nerve damage. And so suddenly, Chandler, who was so excited about this opportunity in Florida, is now back home in a neck brace with a cane to get around. And even with the cane, he can barely walk.
Oh, it says credit to that YouTube. Okay, I thought that was like they thing up top. You know what I'm saying? Forget what I said earlier.
And then adding insult to injury, he almost immediately lost the job at SpaceX because he couldn't travel to Florida to start the job. And so they filled it with someone else. Chandler did his best to stay positive and optimistic, but I mean, this was a crushing blow. Everything he had worked for had just been taken away. And it was crushing for his family too. I mean, seeing their beloved...
You said Holla barely reads, bruh. Chill.
Chaz, as they called him, laying on the couch looking totally...
All I heard was like the dude came up his accounting firm, and he was like, I paused it. That's what happened. I paused it too early. And then he was like, but his brother's doing just as well as him. And I looked up and I just seen like YouTube. I was like, oh, that's his YouTube. So it wasn't lack of reading, all right? I was just rushing.
Miserable and depressed all day was awful. But despite how bad Chandler's accident was, the trauma it inflicted on Chandler and his family was nothing compared to what happened next. The Haldersons owned a small cabin that was located in a part of Wisconsin called White Lake. It was located about 3 hours drive to...
Bro, Green Bay, never seen it on the map, bro. I have today.
The north of their home in Windsor, and the cabin was situated inside of this rural forested area right near a big lake called White Lake, hence the name of the area. This cabin had been in the Halderson family since the 1940s, and when Mitchell and Chandler were little kids, Bart and Krista would take them up there all the time to go fishing, to go swimming, or just to relax. It was like their vacation home. But at some point, Chandler and Mitchell reached a certain age where they weren't that interested in going to the cabin anymore, and so as a result, Bart and Krista basically stopped going. However, just 2 weeks after Chandler's horrific injury, there was this huge storm that rolled through the White Lake area. And after the storm had passed, some people who lived permanently in White Lake called Bart and Krista and told them,
what
hey,
happened
I was
to the
driving
cabin?
past your cabin and I saw there was some broken windows. It looks like your cabin might have been damaged from this storm. And so Bart and Krista, they're thinking, oh my goodness, we got to get up there as soon as we can and patch up that window and fix the rest of the cabin before another storm rolls through and totally ruins the cabin. And so Bart and Krista pull out their calendar and they see the next weekend coming up is the 4th of July weekend. The 4th.
Nah, this is crazy. This is so many things, bruh. So many things.
4th of July is a very big holiday in America. It's when we celebrate our independence. And the way White Lake celebrates the 4th of July is with a big parade down Main Street and these amazing fireworks out over White Lake. And so Bart and Krista, they figure, you know what, let's just hold off and head up to our cabin in a couple of days to time it with the 4th of July weekend, and we can make the necessary repairs and we can enjoy the festivities of the holiday and kind of have a mini vacation up there. And so that was all fine and good. But right before they left for this trip up to White Lake, Bart and Krista started acting a little weird. On the evening of Thursday, July 1st, the day before Bart and Krista are supposed to leave for this trip, they begin packing up their things. And since Chandler lives with them, he's at home, he sees them doing this, and at some point he kind of got up and hobbled over and tried to help them pack, but that was short-lived because his legs were so weak, and so he sat.
Yeah, I would have been chilling, bro. Look, my neck like these. Hey, look, y'all do y'all thing, brother.
Down and just kind of watch them pack. And what he saw is they were packing lots and lots of cash and silver bars into their luggage.
What? Yo, no. Okay, maybe this picture is an exaggeration of how much money they had, but silver bars? What are we talking about? Huh? What are we talking about?
Although this was kind of odd to Chandler, he decided not to say anything because he figured, you know what, maybe they want to stash their cash and silver in the cabin like a keepsake, I don't know, but it's their business, it's not mine. And so Bart and Krista, they continue to pack up their things, and Chandler, because he can't go anywhere, just continues to kind of watch them pack, and it's...
Yo, people are walking around with silver bars in 2021? Didn't know. Didn't... This is news to me, all right? Hold on.
At some point, Chandler asks his parents, so how are you getting up to White Lake? And his parents would say, oh, we're just getting a ride from our friends, another couple. They're driving us up. But they didn't tell him who the couple was. They basically just said, it's our friends. And so again, Chandler's sitting there thinking, okay, this whole thing is a little bit weird, but you know what? It's their business. I'm not going to ask about it. They obviously don't want to tell me. And so he just kind of let it go. And so at some point, Bart and Krista, they finish packing and they move all their luggage to the front of the house right near the front door. And then a little while later, they and Chandler would retreat to their rooms and they would go to sleep.
I'm still stuck on the silver bars, bruh. I ain't never seen somebody have a silver bar in my life. Okay?
The next morning, July 2nd, Friday, Chandler got...
Like, bruh, that's like cartoons. Man, what?
Got up early at about 6 a.m. And when he got up, he began slowly hobbling his way down the stairs, expecting to see his...
Matter of fact, look, if you got silver bars in the comment section, let me know down below. Matter of fact, I need to see a picture, all right? Send me one on Instagram. I just want to see, like, bro, silver bars exist.
Mom and dad having breakfast and, getting ready to leave because they certainly wouldn't have left without telling him. But he gets downstairs and the house is dark and totally empty, and all of the bags that his parents had packed the night before and put near the front door, they were all gone. And so Chandler's thinking, did my parents get up at like 5 a.m. and leave without telling me? And so he goes to the door and he looks out the window thinking, maybe they're out there waiting outside. But when he looked outside, his parents weren't out there. And sure enough, their cars were still in the driveway. And so Chandler was left to believe that, well, I guess my parents did get picked up by whoever these friends were. Okay. And they did not feel the need to come tell me they were leaving. Now, this did leave Chandler.
Hold up. Wait a minute. Was this Ransom? This was Ransom? Listen. I'm thinking. That thinker working, all right?
A little bit shaken up. He just kept...
Because why would they not tell him what was going on? That's the only reason they wouldn't tell him. If it's something he didn't need to know, right? Hey, look, we got to go get something back, all right? They packing silver bars. Hey, man.
Thinking about the strangeness of what they were packing and the fact that he didn't know who they were going with, and now this sudden departure. But again, Chandler just told himself that his parents would be just fine. These are just kind of random anomalies, but they are not indicative of there being any issue here. And so Chandler found a way to just kind of push these concerns out of his mind, and he just went about his day. And so because his parents were now going to be gone for the weekend, he promptly called his girlfriend, Catherine, and asked her to come over.
My man looked like a puppet house combo character in this photo.
Over and stay at his house with him for a couple of days. And so
Steven was good, my boy.
Over, and because Chandler can't really do anything because of his injury, they basically spent the weekend just kind of lounging around and eating nice food and watching Netflix. But by the end of the weekend, on Sunday morning, there was an undertone that both of them noticed that something was wrong. Chandler had told his girlfriend about the strangeness of his parents' quick departure to White Lake, but he had said to her, I'm sure it's fine, and she basically said the same thing, that of course your parents are fine. But by Sunday, Bart and Krista had still not called or texted or checked in with Chandler or Mitchell or anybody. They were just totally gone and silent. And whenever Chandler or Catherine tried calling Bart or Krista's cell phone, it didn't even ring. It just went straight to voicemail. But by late that day, Sunday, July 4th, when really concerns were starting to mount about what happened to Bart and Krista would text her son, Chandler. And what she basically said was, hey, we arrived in White Lake. It's packed here. The service is terrible, but we're going to stick around for the parade, and we'll be back either Monday night or Tuesday.
Put the cap on, brother.
Early. And so as soon as Chandler and Catherine saw this text message, it was like all their worries were completely gone, and they were just excited to see Bart and Krista when they came back the next day or the day after. But the next day, Monday, Bart and Krista did not come home. They didn't call anyone. They didn't text anyone. And again, whenever anybody tried calling their cell phones, which now was Chandler, Catherine, and also Mitchell, who had been looped in on what's going on with his parents, whenever they tried calling them, Bart and Krista's phone didn't ring. It just went straight to voicemail. And then the day after that, on Tuesday, July 6th, so this was the day that Krista said they would be home by.
Exactly.
They didn't come home. And again...
Yeah, that's crazy. This is why you gotta, even though it's something you're not supposed to know, you gotta let them know. Especially if it's gonna be something crazy, unless something actually happened. But if that sounds like some, bruh, pulling silver bars out, tucking them away, and dipping on your children. Listen, you gotta let them know. Whatever that is, they gotta know. They have to.
No one could get in touch with them. And again, they did not contact anyone. Additionally, on Tuesday, Krista's office began calling Chandler and Mitchell asking if they knew where Krista was. Krista had recently taken up a customer service job at an auto body shop, and apparently she was scheduled to work on that day, Tuesday the 6th, and she was scheduled to work on that previous Friday, which was the day Bart and Krista left for the lake. Meaning she had left on this trip without telling anybody at work. And according to her boss,
that's crazy.
Krista was the type of person who, even if she was running
good.
A couple of minutes late, she would call ahead or text ahead and let people...
Hey, 3 no-call, no-shows. You out of here, ma'am, though. You know what I'm saying? So you coming back to no job.
No. So for her to just completely not show up and tell no one was totally out of character. But before Chandler, Mitchell, and Catherine could process this information, Bart's employer began calling them, asking the same things. Hey, do you know where Bart is? He's supposed to be working right now.
There's something way deeper going on here,
he didn't put in for time off. And so all afternoon on Tuesday the 6th, Chandler, Mitchell, and Catherine and other family members are trying to call Bart and Krista. They're calling other people in White Lake to see if anybody knows where they are, but nobody does. And so finally, the next morning on Wednesday, July 7th, when still there was no word from Bart and Krista, Chandler goes to the police and he files a missing person report. And pretty much right away, the police in Windsor contacted the police up north in White Lake and asked them to do a check on this cabin to see if maybe Bart and Krista were there, and maybe they just had terrible service, or maybe there was some sort of accident or something that happened. But when the White Lake police arrived at the Halderson cabin, Bart and Krista were not there. No one was there. In fact, the cabin looked like it had not been used in months. The outside was totally overgrown, and inside there was no food in the fridge. And interestingly, the police would also tell Chandler, Mitchell, and Catherine that there was no damage done to this cabin. There were no broken windows or any.
Hold up, so weren't they supposed to go up there to check? Bro, listen, something way deeper going on here.
Any sign, at least no obvious sign, of storm damage to this cabin. And so after this revelation, of course, Bart and Krista's family is like, wait a minute, who called them and told them to head up there to fix these obvious broken windows? Are those the same mystery friends that drove them up in the first place? I mean, what's going on here? Was this some sort of trap? Have they been set up? Are they okay? And so by the following day, Thursday, July 8th, when still there was no sign of Bart or Krista, and the police really didn't have any new leads to speak of, Chandler was desperate, and so he went to local media and he said, please run a story about my parents and get the word out there that they're missing,
JC
and
was
maybe
good,
someone knows something and they'll come forward. And so local media, they would do that. They would run this piece. And so while this media coverage is going on the 8th, Chandler would go back to his home and he would hobble door to door asking each of his neighbors if they had a security camera on the front of their house that might have picked up an angle of the street.
Listen, W Thinker in the building. W Thinker, he using that noggin, all right?
Street, and so may have seen his parents on the morning of July 2nd when they climbed into that mystery couple's car that took them up to White Lake. Chandler was hoping that if he got this footage, somebody would be able to identify who these mystery friends were. But unfortunately, none of his neighbors had that footage. But as it would turn out, it didn't matter, because on that day, the 8th, the police made a discovery that at first seemed relatively minor, relatively small, but when they examined it more closely, they realized it was a huge discovery and it completely broke the case wide open. To understand this breakthrough, we have to go back to June 29th, 2021. So 3 days before Bart and Krista hopped into that mystery person's car and headed up to White Lake. On that day, June 29th, Bart had finally just had it. There had been something bothering him for a really long time, and he had just finally decided, you know what? Today, I'm going to get to the bottom of it. And so Bart pulled out his phone, he punched in a number, he put it to his ear, and after a few rings, a young man named Omar Job answered his call. In total, Bart and Omar would talk on the phone for a total of 17 minutes. And for the first half of the call, it was basically just Bart being really angry and aggressive towards Omar. But then during the second half of the call, when Omar really had a chance to speak for the first time, Bart's tone completely changed. He was no longer angry. He actually sounded totally defeated. And so after this 17-minute phone call finally comes to an end, Bart is left kind of in shock, but he knows he now needs to set up an even more intense meeting with a group of people, and he needs to tell them what he just learned from Omar.
Bro. Hey, yo, shout out Mr. Ballin, all right? Because this, what does he need to tell him, all right?
And within 24 hours, Bart had set this additional high-stakes meeting with this other group. It was set for 3 p.m. on July 1st. July 1st was the day before Bart and Krista would leave for White Lake. And so on July 1st, the day of this new pivotal meeting, Bart was working from home, and at some point...
Hey, look, make sure y'all go join my Twitter community. You know what I'm saying? It's on the community tab. That way, we can look through it on stream. It'll be a lot easier.
He looked at his watch, and he saw it was just after 2 p.m. And even though this meeting he was going to have was still an hour away, the location of the meeting was a bit of a drive away. And so he knew he needed to leave soon. And so Bart stopped working and he texted Chandler, who was in the house with him. He just said, ready to leave when you are. Chandler was aware of how important this meeting was for his dad.
You said you don't trust that Twitter community stuff? What you mean?
He also understood the terrible position his dad was in. And so he had agreed to go with his dad to this meeting. And so after a couple of minutes, both Chandler and Bart have gotten dressed and ready for this meeting. And they met downstairs on the first floor. And after kind of a nod to each other, they begin walking towards the front door. But then something happens. Chandler was standing behind Bart. And so as they're moving towards the door, Chandler reaches out and grabs a rifle he was hiding on the first floor.
Yes, on Twitter.
He raises it and he fires at least 2 shots.
Oh.
Bart. And so as they're moving towards the door, Chandler reaches out and grabs a rifle he was hiding on the first floor. He raises it and he fires at least 2 shots into his father's back. And then once his father fell to the ground and was either dead or dying, Chandler, calm as can be, pulled...
Yo, son, what? Oh my God. Yo, no, there's no way. There's no way. There's no way.
Out his phone and he texted his mother and told her, hey, dad's phone is dead, so just text me. And then Chandler also sent his mother a text saying, get soda on your way home. To which his mother just wrote, "K, I can, smiley face." All Chandler was trying to do was buy as much time as possible to prep the house for his mother's return. And so over the next couple of hours,
yo, was this man out here, you know what I'm saying, watching Dexter Morgan or something? Right? Hey, nah, this is crazy. Prep the house. What do you mean prep the house how? Huh? Nah, this is insanity.
we don't know exactly what Chandler did, but it's assumed he moved his father's body into some hiding place, and then after maybe trying to clean up a little bit, Chandler laid in wait for his mother. And at
Yo, nah, son. No. What?
4:58 p.m., Krista would clock out of her job.
Bro, listen, out of all the stuff you can do in this world, all right, you were in a Call of Duty prone at your front door waiting on your mom to come. That is man, what? Yo. Oh my, yo, listen. How did we get here? How did we get here? What?
Job at the automotive shop. She would make a pit stop at a store to buy Chandler some soda, and then between 5:15 and 5:30, security cameras on neighbors' houses would pick her up pulling into her driveway. And then just a couple of minutes later, she walked inside of her beautiful little dream home.
And who didn't hear this?
Where she had raised her family over the past couple of decades, only to be immediately gunned down by her son the second she walked in.
Because didn't they show earlier, like, what the freaking neighborhood looked like from the top? Them houses was close. That man had to be making silencers, boy. There's no way.
Inside. It would turn out Chandler was living a double life. He had never graduated from college. He had gone to college, but for like a semester and flunked out. But he just kept telling his friends and family that he was progressing through college and then he graduated from college.
Did y'all not show up to the graduation? Like, was y'all not like, hey, yo, we're gonna, when's your graduation? We're gonna throw you a party, little cookout type. How he gonna lie about walking across the stage?
All made up. He also did not have a job at the insurance company. He just told his family that he worked from home, which really meant he sat in his room and played video games all day. He was not a rescue scuba diver for the Madison Police Department because, one,
he better be like a streamer, bruh. He gotta be.
He was not a scuba diver, and two, because the Madison Police Department did not.
If you're spending that much time, all right, playing games, at least stream it, bro. Please.
Not have a rescue scuba diving team. And needless to say, he did not have a...
Nobody ever asked for proof of none of this stuff that he was doing? No, like, take home, like, hey, we had a company come into work. They gave us these pins. Nothing? All right.
Job with SpaceX. He had never even applied. As for his head injury, he may have bumped his head at some point, and he did go to the doctors by himself sometime in mid-June, but
no.
that doctor just told him he might have a mild concussion and then offered him a neck brace and told him, you don't need to wear it. That's only if you want to wear it. But then very quickly, Chandler...
Nah, this is sick. This fake... Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. What?
Turned this non-injury into a debilitating, crippling, life-altering injury and literally hobbled all around with a neck brace and cane.
Yo, you know the crazy part about this? I know somebody just like this in real life, bro. Boy, listen, when I tell you, hey, man. Hey.
And the reason he did that is he needed an excuse for why he wasn't starting his job at SpaceX. In short, Chandler lied about virtually every aspect of his life to virtually...
Bro, look, people, look, I'm about to give y'all this bit of advice. People who will lie about anything, just remove yourself from the vicinity. Like, I'm talking about, like, everything. Like, for no reason, move. Because they are creating a reality for you that is in your proximity that you have no idea what it is. And when that thing blow up, you do not want to be next to it. Get you some nice, honest, truthful people. Stay with them, bro. I'm giving y'all the life keys, bro. Please.
Everyone in his life. And for the most part, people did believe him. However, his parents were becoming more and more suspicious. Mm-hmm. Specifically, in 2021, he was telling them, oh yeah, I'm working at the insurance company, but he never had any money. He could barely pay rent to his family, if at all. And so his dad would say to him, how is it you are employed but have no money? Man. And the way Chandler would handle this is he would create fake email accounts pretending to be people in HR at this insurance company and then
you doing all this work, you know there are jobs for you, big fella. Yo.
As them, he would write these convoluted emails that had these ridiculous excuses for why Chandler had not been.
Bro, I just met somebody yesterday. They said they freaking they answer like, you know, when you, I'm not gonna say their company, but they was like, you know what I'm saying, you know, when you get on Twitter and you be like, yo, Cooper Eats, alright, you forgot my drink on Twitter. They're the one that respond. That's crazy. You know what I'm saying? You could have been doing that and playing all the Call of Duty you wanted to. All right? Stream. You could have been living, brother.
Paid yet, and so he would have that fake email account email his real account, and then Chandler in his actual email would write back really angrily and sternly saying, you gotta fix this, my family's not happy. And then he would once again pretend to be the HR person who would say, I'm sorry, it's some issue that you can't affect, we're gonna fix it, but you gotta wait. And Chandler would take these exchanges and he would forward them to his father. And while Bart didn't necessarily totally believe what he was being shown, it was enough to get...
Bro, my kid's not getting away with no. I listen too well, pay too much attention, all right? Because that's all you really got to do. Pay attention to your kids, okay? You do that, you got like 90% of the battle done. Just focus, all right? It's going to be some years, but just focus. But man... this will never fly. Hey, look, you're not getting this past me, big fella. You're done.
Him to stop.
Hey, we going to pick up your check today in person. All right, I just gotta see it. I gotta see it. Ain't no way.
Questions. But Bart and Krista were also suspicious of other aspects of Chandler's life, like, for example, his school records. At some point, he needed to show them his transcripts, and he would tell them, oh, you know, I can't.
Yeah, like, especially like if your child is having conversations with you, bro, there's no way he got through college. And I didn't ask something like, yo, so, like, you know what I'm saying? Your English 1101 class, like, what would you learn? Or what y'all talk about, you know what I'm saying? What subject you think you know the most from? You got to ask questions, bro. Because they obviously was not paying attention.
Access my transcripts. And so Bart and Krista are like, why? can't you just log in and pull up your unofficial transcripts at least? And the way Chandler would handle this was the same way he handled the insurance company. He would create fictitious email accounts of people that were college advisors at Madison College, where he claimed to have gone and graduated from. And he would do those phony back and forths where it looked like the college was telling Chandler, sorry, you can't get your transcripts. It's this huge problem that's totally our fault, not yours, but you just gotta wait. There's nothing else you can do. We can't get them for you right now. And when Chandler would send these exchanges to Bart, Bart would get totally worked up about it, and finally he demanded that Chandler give him a phone number so he can talk to one of these college advisors. And so Chandler went out and got a burner phone from a convenience store, and he gave that phone number to his dad, and then when his dad called this number up, somebody picked up, someone introducing themselves as Daniel Spieth, which really was just Chandler disguising his voice.
Yeah, this sounds like a lot. And if you,
and
he's not even doing good. Like, his tricks aren't even good. And they falling for it, man.
Daniel Spieth would give Bart the same spiel about how, oh, I'm so sorry, it's all the college's fault that we can't get your son's transcripts. You're just gonna have to wait. And so finally, on June 29th, 2021, Bart had just had it with his son. He was convinced his son was lying, or there was something going on. There was just too much about his son's life that didn't add up. And so Bart decided he was just going to call Madison College and pretend to be Chandler and see if he could get his transcripts. And so he dialed a number for customer service at Madison College, and after a few rings, Omar Job, a customer service rep at Madison College, picked up. And initially, Bart was kind of aggressive and mean towards Omar for really no reason other than he was just so frustrated with this whole situation. And so he's on this call pretending to be Chandler, and he's kind of barking at Omar to give me my transcripts right now. I go to your school. There's no reason you can keep them from me. But then after a couple of minutes, Omar finally was able to talk, and he said, you know, hey, Chandler, I looked you up in the system, and you don't go to this school.
That's crazy.
You've never gone to this school, save for maybe one semester, and you failed out. And so it's at this point when Bart hears this that he just pauses for a really long amount of time on this call, and then he begins asking follow-up questions that are not really connected to...
Okay, now, Chad, what would you do at this point? All right? I mean, listen, it's kind of late, you know what I'm saying, to start, but you're here, okay? What are you doing? You just found out your child's whole existence was a lie. What are you doing?
Trying to get transcripts, because now he knows the transcripts don't exist because his son didn't go to school. And so he begins asking Omar, does Daniel Spieth still work there? And so Omar would look him up and he would say, no, there's no Daniel Spieth that works here. Crazy. And there's no Daniel Spieth that's ever worked here. And because Chandler had used like 5 or 6 different names when pretending to be college advisors for Madison College, Bart, in addition to asking about that Daniel Spieth guy, asked about every other name he had interviewed.
All right, see, this is L work though, because you could have literally just went on the website, looked up their professor, not that I would ever do this, chat, but you could look up their professor thing and at least make an email similar to that. You got to be a little bit better than Daniel Spieth, all right? Come on now.
Interacted with, believing he was talking to Madison College, and one by one, Omar told him, I'm sorry, those people do not work here. I've never heard of these people. They're not in the directory. I'm sorry. And so finally, at the end of that 17-minute call, Bart knew his son was living a huge lie. And so he hung up with Omar, and then Bart...
Hey, does it get sicker than this, though? Hey, my man Call of Duty...
called real college advisors at Madison College, and he set a meeting for July 1st at 3 p.m. And then he told Chandler that he had set this meeting.
Oh, he's done. That's the one thing about people who lie, bro. Sometimes you don't got to point out the truth. Just move. I'm telling you. Don't just move, bro. Just move away, because that world is going to blow up, okay? Just move up out the way. Because now that he like, the truth is coming to light, people will do anything to protect, man, listen.
Chandler was going to come with him, and they together were going to ask those college advisors why they can't produce Chandler's transcripts. Now, Bart, of course, knew Chandler did not have transcripts, and so he likely had set this meeting to get Chandler to call the meeting off and come clean about this big lie so that Bart could get his son back on the right track, stop lying, and live a real life.
Facts.
But the way Chandler handled being caught was not to own up to any of this. He didn't call off the meeting. He just waited until the day of the meeting, and then he killed his father, killed...
Yo. There's no way, bruh. There's no way. What? And look, bro. All right. Price of house in Madison, Wisconsin. All right. Is it expensive to live in? Bro. I'm trying, bro. Just give me the price. Oh, okay. The average 361. All right. It's not like they lived in like a cheap place, bro. But like, they was letting you chill, bro. All you gotta do is do a little bit of work, bro. You could play your games when you're done. You ain't have to do this. This is man.
Killed his mother and then dismembered their bodies and...
He watched Dexter, bro. I'm telling you. I watched it too. Nah, my man, what was it? The Bay Harbor Butcher, all right? Come on.
Burned their body parts in the family fireplace.
This is sick. Sick, all right? All because he didn't want to go to work. God, bro. He's done. That boy, hey, pack him up. He's finished.
Including their heads. And then when he couldn't destroy their bodies completely...
See, and everybody was talking about that Jeffrey Dahmer, you know what I'm saying? Oh my God, back then. Hey, it's still crazy stuff going on today. Let's not lose sight of that. I think that's, you know what I'm saying? Hey, man.
He took what was left
shout out Mr. Bally, you know what I'm saying?
Of their remains and scattered them all over town in parks and...
Yo, this man is going... I'm telling you. Bro, I guarantee you. You go through his watch history, all right? That man got Dexter in there, bro. Listen.
Forests and rivers. He even put his father's headless, armless, legless torso behind his girlfriend's parents' house. And all the while, as he's doing this, he's spinning this ridiculous story to his girlfriend, to his brother, to other members of the Halderson family.
Yo, that girl, she got lucky. You ever tried to leave him? Oh, man. Oh, my.
To police, to colleagues of Bart and Krista, that Bart and Krista just up and left on the morning of July 2nd with this mystery couple. And oh, by the way, my parents, they were putting cash and silver bars in their luggage. So I don't know. They went up to White Lake and now they're gone. I don't know what happened.
So there's no silver bars. All right, just to be clear, I was about to say, he definitely played RuneScape. That's facts, for sure. My man was doing the finesses in RuneScape. Or maybe, hey, chat, this is the hypothesis, okay? Maybe what happened was he worked hard as a kid, all right? He got his RuneScape, you know what I'm saying, account. He got a lot of coins on there. And he went out and had a hacker take it from him. And now, my man, he was locked into that's the real money. This is the access to my fund. You took it away. And my man's, he been never wanting to work for nothing again. I just want to give it to me. I worked hard for them RuneScape coins, bruh. And I ain't going back.
Happened to them. We don't know why Chandler chose the story.
Listen, RuneScape plus Dexter Morgan, you're done.
He did. It's unclear if he was trying to make it seem like his parents were suspicious and had gotten into something that...
That's why he used silver bars, bro. He said, because Unless his parents really got silver bars, though.
Had maybe gotten them harmed or kidnapped, or if he was trying to make it seem like his parents were just super gullible and had been taken advantage of by this mystery couple. We don't know. He was just trying to make the whole situation seem plausibly suspicious. Ultimately, though, Chandler did so many things that got him caught. From the mountain of physical evidence he left behind inside of his house, where he killed and dismembered his parents, and also at the various dump sites where he didn't even bury the body parts. He would just put them underneath sticks and branches, and so they were very easy to find. To his extremely suspicious behavior on July 7th when he walked into the police station and reported his parents missing. That whole time he was talking to police officers, he was acting so weird and was just saying things that didn't make sense, and he just totally came off like a guy who did not care at all that his parents were gone and really just seemed like a guy who was hiding something. But the big breakthrough that happened on July 8th that broke the case open stemmed from the text message Krista's phone sent to Chandler's phone on July 4th. When Chandler walked into the police station on July 7th and said, "My parents are missing," one of the first questions they had for him was, "Okay, well, when was the last time you spoke to your parents?" And Chandler would tell them he got a text message from his mother, Krista, on Sunday, July 4th. And then he showed them the text message. And
they about to ping the towers?
The text message said that they had arrived in White Lake and they were going to be sticking around for the parade and they'd be back in a couple of days. But the police noticed that
the way he texted, the words?
This text message had been sent on July 4th, but in White Lake that year, the parade...
Oh, you're finished. That's why he circled it earlier. Hey. Foreshadowing. You okay?
Was on July 3rd. So when this text came through, the parade that anyone in White Lake would be aware of, it's a small place, you're not going to miss this parade. The parade had already happened. So why would Krista be texting her son that she was going to stick around in White Lake for the parade that had already happened?
Oh, you're done. You're done.
And so this led police to check phone records. And
you said, Holla, sometimes you look into the camera and into my soul, it scares you. Hey, you know, yo, that's great.
Would discover that.
See, now I can never look at the camera straight again, bro.
Text message was sent from Krista's phone to Chandler's phone.
Ultra was good.
But when it was sent on July 4th, Krista's phone was not in White Lake. Instead, it was inside of the Halderson home, right near Chandler's phone. And so when police went to the Halderson house, they searched it and they found Krista's phone in the garage underneath a drawer inside of a shoe wrapped in tinfoil next to her driver's license.
Thinker, you did all this thinking to make up this false life, all right? And you ain't do no thinking on, and you could have avoided all of this. All you had to do was go to your local Smoothie King and learn what fruit to put in the you know what I'm saying, the stuff. Got you a little bit of bread, you could have went on your merry way. Streamer, you know what I'm saying? You had options. There were better ones than this.
And so Chandler had obviously sent that text message on July 4th using his mother's phone to himself.
You said, I mean...
He had just gotten the date wrong of the parade. And so this discrepancy really opened up the floodgates.
Hey,
and before long, it was beyond obvious that Chandler was the killer. And after a thorough investigation, it was determined that Chandler had acted entirely alone, meaning Catherine, his girlfriend, and his brother Mitchell had nothing to do with it. They were just innocent bystanders. Chandler would ultimately be found guilty of killing his parents, and he would be sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Chandler has still not taken any responsibility for what he's done. Instead, he just tells anybody who will listen that his plan is to continue to appeal his verdict.
No. Bro, you gonna have to tell the truth at some point, bro. In the famous words, I don't know who said it, but the truth will set you free, bro. That's all you gotta do. Tell the truth. And you're done. I mean, he's not done because, like, what's his play? Like, to get out? Like, if it's to, man, look. This is the craziest story I've ever heard in my life. Ain't no way my man was crouched down, prone, camping. You know, bro, nobody likes a camper, bro. Get out in the... Nah, that's crazy. In GTA and Call of Duty, you know what I'm saying? All types of... Yeah. But, bro, for your mom, you bodied your dad because he set up a freaking advisor meet? Come on, man. Just tell the truth, bro. Just tell the truth. And you could, you know what I'm saying? You're going to be all right. It's going to be all right.